Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode number 127 of the Peak of Serenity podcast. I am, as always, one of your hosts, emallson, and joining me, we have my co host, Anomoly.
Hello.
And this week, because neither of us are Windwalkers, we have two guests to talk about the Windwalker talent trees. Foe, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hey everyone, I'm Foe71 on like Twitch and all that kind of stuff. In-game character Foe Chan Area 52. I've been playing since Legion, halfway through Legion or so. Trial of Valor. Started out as a tank actually,
Ah,
but then I switched over to Brewmaster at the start of Old Year, and I was told I was not a good tank, so I got kicked to DPS, and I played Windwalker ever since then. So I'm in Babylonius's guild, Occasional Excellence, and yeah, I've been raiding there since the end of the summer. So happy to be here.
Awesome.
cool. Funny how I think every Windwalker that we've ever talked to has spent some time as Brewmaster.
Yeah, it's it's definitely the most popular spec on the class.
How about you? So we also have Hinalover back for the second time. Previously on here to talk about Simsy. You maintain the Windwalker and a lot of the Brewmaster stuff for that, right?
Yes, I do. For those who don't know, I am Hinalover. I am the primary developer for the Monk module for Simulation Craft, or Raid Boss for a lot of people who use that. So I've been playing since Burning Crusade and been part of the theory crafting community since Wrath of the Lich King. So it's kind of been full circle with the release this past week, which we'll get to. And yeah, I've been playing Windwalkers and Monk since basically day one. Doing the whole friendship, sending all the levels to my monk day one. So I was in Pandaria within a few hours of making my monk.
Nice, nice.
I did that same thing. Had two accounts. It was awesome.
Yeah.
I think I'm one of the few people that actually deeply disliked the old stuff, but that is neither here nor there.
Yeah, that's true.
Uh, but yeah, so this week, like I said, we are going to be talking about Windwalker talents. So I think this one is going to be more the Foe and Hina show than me and Anam. Um, Simply because like when I had the opportunity this tier to switch to DPS, I did not switch to Windwalker, which was for practical reasons. It was because if I switched to Windwalker, I would be asked to play Brewmaster. Uh, and didn't want to. So I picked something else that couldn't. But yeah. So before we get into Windwalker talents, though, we've got a couple things to go through. I want to briefly talk about how raid is going this week, and then we actually have some very exciting news about the BTR. So, Anam, how was your raid this week?
Yeah, remember last week when I was like, man, it's really fun to play AV
Yeah,
in Wrath of the King Classic. And
yeah.
I was like, yeah, it's a great honor. And then I was like, maybe I AFK'd a few games. So I haven't played this week because I'm suspended until Tuesday. So I'm on a little bit of a break, so raid week for me was easy. Didn't log in since Monday afternoon. Not because I haven't tried, just because I can't get onto my characters.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Learned that classic suspensions also affect your retail account.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, I remember talking
yeah.
about we had a guy get banned for buying classic gold, and they
Oh,
were out
nice,
of
nice.
main raid for 2 weeks.
Yeah, so I'm only out well, originally it was 30 days, submitted a bunch of tickets, got it, thought I got it like sort of removed, but they were like, no, we still saw you AFK a couple games. I was like, yeah, maybe I was. So yeah, I'm on sort of a break until until Tuesday at 2:30 Eastern. I can log back in.
Nice.
Um,
So you get to come back for Castle Nathria.
yeah, I'm really not excited for that.
I mean, it
But
is the best raid of the expansion, so
True.
It's true, actually. I would give that. Yeah. So yeah, I'll be back. I didn't rate it all. I know that so guild wise, I think they killed we killed Jailer on Faded. We killed basically all the hard stuff. So Anduin, Raglan, Lords, Jailer, and then I don't know how much we back cleared on Thursday. To be fair, I haven't checked our logs. I'm all in on not playing any real games at this point. Just sort of hanging out, touching grass, doing that fun stuff. So
Nice.
um but yeah, no, it was yeah, I'm sort of suspended at this point. So I have broken some terms of services.
Yeah, so let this be a
Unfortunately.
lesson. Anon talked a lot about AFKing and AV last week. This is what happens when you do that for too many games.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
how was your rate? How was your rate? Let's get off. How was your rate?
So we got through up to Anduin on Friday. We did not. I wanted to use the skip and go straight through um, the hard bosses. Anduin this week, I think, is considered the hardest boss in the raid.
Yeah.
And some of that is because a lot of guilds were used to the speed strat, which we've not done, and so we haven't had to relearn that. But the soaks kind of suck. The creation spark is just really not a great affix. Just really not. But yeah, so we cleared up to Anduin, put some time into Anduin, gonna just knock that out tonight. And then we'll see where we get from there. Would like to get Jailer down, and I think it's realistic to get Jailer down because, from my understanding, Lords and Raglan are both significantly easier than the first time around, just due to gear and some slightly better affixes on them.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've managed to not gray parse most bosses on my mage this week, so that's nice. Progress.
Nice.
About,
You're real DPS now.
Yeah, maybe. How about you, Foe and Hina? Oh, I know you're rating. I don't know if you're rating right now, Hina.
No.
All right. I'll
just say it out. Basically, I have at least stopped for the expansion back in 2.3. Guild fell apart then.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, I just you know what? I'm just going to take a break, play some other games that I've been wanting to play.
Yeah.
And just kind of taking it easy.
Yeah.
I'm doing some minor rating in Final Fantasy 14, but other than that, yeah.
Yeah.
So I would say that our raid, we did the skip and went straight to Anduin, and we tried to do the speed strat like we always do, but we found that even doing the carryover with the spell and
Right.
soaking, that was not even close to enough damage to get Anduin to a low enough percent to push him in phase 3 in the second phase or first phase 2. So I mean, I think he was about over 10% HP off, and 10% on Anduin is much more than
It's a
most raid
lot.
bosses because his health is boosted due to the damage increase taken from the Lich King.
Right.
So we were like, okay, we just cleared all the other bosses while the officers figured out what we're gonna do. And once we cleared all those bosses, we came back and we had to start relearning the original prog strat.
Yeah.
And there was some people, I wasn't in the guild when it was prog, so like what I did and the strategy was slightly different. So there's like people like me and some others that had to relearn OE's version of it, and everyone had to just like get the rust out of the gears,
Yeah.
figure out how to actually do this properly again. So we wiped on it for at least 3.5 hours we got like a couple pulls the first day, and then the second day we wiped on it for 3.5 hours.
Oh.
And we did manage to finally kill it though, at least, so that was nice.
Yeah.
And we're able to kill Lords and Raglan, but no Jailer mounts, which is really unfortunate.
How long did we?
Because that's another. Yeah, that was just like another week of not getting mounts, which is scary because there's only so many weeks left.
Yeah,
you know?
it's Yeah. I have a few complaints about how season 4 has gone. One of them is that they took the thing that they had done where it made it relatively straightforward to get everybody their like end boss mythic mounts and made it just dramatically harder because 1 out of every 3 weeks you just don't get to do it. Or like it's significantly
Well,
harder
yeah,
to do it.
it's yep, singing.
Because like doing it on non-fitted weeks is relatively free. Like
Mhm.
the jailer's mechanics don't care about eye level. Like holes kill you no matter how good your gear is.
Yep.
So there's really it's not just like walking in and it falls over territory, but it's still significantly easier than doing a current, faded jailer clear.
Yeah.
Um yeah. And looking at it now, we spent about an hour on Anduin on Friday and had a few pulls that should have been kills and then just like missed a kick in phase 2, which is the whole reason, by the way, for doing the speed strat is not do those mechanics.
You're right, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
looks like my guild also had to relearn and did the 2 intermission strat or go back to the original prog. So
Yeah.
yeah.
We had never done the speed strat. We just hadn't invested the time to learn it because we just were focused on the other things and didn't want to redo it. So the issues here are primarily like there's some stuff with if you have creation spark downstairs, your debuff that kills you when it expires ticks faster. So the weak aura that we've got for telling like when you have to kill the things or people die is wrong because sometimes your debuff is 3 to 5 seconds shorter because of creation spark, especially if you're good about maintaining 2 stacks of it. You have a significantly shorter debuff. It's really like creation spark is just I think this will be a lesson for them to never ever like throw that kind of affix in again. It's the
Yeah, time
Ellison
based.
kind of time amp.
Hmm.
Yeah,
I mean, the Ellison version was better though, like better implemented.
right. But the
Like
Ellison
I don't.
one was the fight was built around it, right?
Yeah, that's a good point. They took account in code for the speed
Yeah,
and shrinkage and all that kind of stuff that was going on. Whereas throwing it on, carpeting it on 3 raids is not exactly the same thing.
yeah.
They don't QA test that much in general, and they definitely didn't test this.
Yeah.
They just test if I guess if like the code passes unit tests, that's my only guess on what they
Well,
actually test at that
well,
company.
bold of you to assume that World of Warcraft has unit tests for their raid bosses.
Yeah, maybe they don't.
Not at all. Not at
Um,
all.
but speaking of testing,
Oh yeah. Oh, sick segue.
Hey, there we go.
the PTR, the public test realm, has pre-patch on it now. There's no pre-patch event on there yet, but this is a way that without beta access, you can actually get on and you can toy around with talents. The talents are out of date. They pulled an old beta build and turned it into the PTR build, so it does not have the most current talents. But you can get on there and fiddle around with old versions of it, mess around with UI stuff, see what breaks. Most of what we did, because there's a lot of changes. But that typically the PTR cycle is around 6 weeks, right?
6 to 8 weeks.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that could put pre-patch at the end of October, middle of October.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, which will be, I mean, and then what, probably 3 or 4 weeks of pre-patch, which gives you early November, what they're maybe thinking about for actual release, which will be much earlier than we thought. I mean, most people are thinking, right? But
Yeah.
we shall see how they do.
Yeah.
But yeah, you can definitely jump on and sort of see the new talents, see how they sort of work out. You can sort of test. I mean, you're missing what, 5 talent points in each tree.
Yes, because you
So
cannot level beyond 60.
yeah. So you're missing 5 talent points. So some of like the capstone combinations you can't really test, but you can definitely test like just individual capstones or ones that are close together. Um, in the trees to sort of get a feel for what they're like. Um
Yeah.
yeah, that was definitely a surprise to see that the PTR was getting pushed.
And for those that maybe have forgotten since the last time we had, because it's been a bit, the end of expansion, the like end boss mounts remain at 100% drop rate until the actual expansion release. So during pre-patch, if we have 6 weeks until pre-patch goes live, and then 3 or 4 weeks of pre-patch, you're still looking at about 20 mounts if you manage to kill the jailer every week. So that still is enough time. If you remove 1/3 of those mounts, it's a little bit spicier. You're looking at more like 14 mounts, which is a little bit rougher. I think that
But yeah, pre-patch is generally about 4 to 5 weeks,
okay.
and PTR is about 6 to 8 weeks. So yeah, end of October is about right. With release date last Tuesday, Wednesday of November. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's like, hopefully they actually hit that, but we'll.
isn't that right around when Shadowlands released in terms of time frame, like the last week of November?
I think Shadowlands was a week prior. I need to take
Okay,
a look real quick.
but it is like within a week or two of Shadowlands release date, so it is actually perhaps the first time, excluding WoD because they abandoned WoD, right? First time since WoD that we have had an actual 2 year long expansion release cycle.
Yeah, that's actually right.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah, it makes sense though. That it was this expansion that got that.
Yeah.
So every 3 expansions, they'll do a WoD to it and like kill a patch, and then
Yeah,
no,
that was
that means
amazing.
Dragonflight will be good, and same as Legion was good. So, it'll be awesome.
Yeah.
I guess, and then the other thing that happened this week before we jump into the Windwalker specific discussion is there is this sort of Xy'mox charity cache event going on. As a part of that event, there's sort of, I guess it's Echo and Liquid are racing through Sepulcher. I think today's Sepulcher and yesterday was I think was Sanctum
Castle.
or Castle, sorry.
Castle. Yep.
And they're doing it with like 2 affixes on each boss, basically. So 2 of the faded affixes on each boss. And so as a part of this sort of event, this week coming up, you'll be able to add an additional faded power to each boss on the live server. So basically, it's sort of like an extra, now you get more faded, which, I mean, to be completely honest with you, I'm assuming you don't get to pick it. So it's like each boss is going to be
Yeah.
locked into having, one of like your extra affix is sort of locked in, which means anytime you get Creation Spark, you're probably going to skip enabling
You
it.
definitely do not turn on Creation Spark.
And then anytime you get moats, you probably enable it, right? It's sort of like the way that it'll go.
like maybe you turn on Creation Spark if it's on like Hungering Destroyer, right?
Really?
I would on Hungering Destroyer, especially since the I think it's related to the scaling bugs, but the like health drain effect, or like the stacking damage that you take from the health drain effect basically doesn't work. So you can just like kind of YOLO and go wherever. So you could do the dispels and it doesn't matter if people refresh their stacks on Hungering Destroyer. Inerva, I definitely wouldn't turn it on. Xy'mox, no fucking way. Even Huntsman like is really spicy because if it happens during Sinseeker, kind of spooky. But there's like a boss. I would do it. A boss.
Awesome. But
I,
in any event, I don't think we know what affixes are going to be additional to each one of the bosses. So it'll probably be something Wowhead or someone posts up.
yeah, it
After
would be
Tuesday.
neat if it let you pick.
Yeah, I was just about to. That's exactly my thought. I think the best game design would be to let people pick what affix to put on, because this is farm. It's the expansion is over. Let us play the game how we want to play it. They're time and time again they like to restrict what players do quite a bit, and I think this is an opportunity for them to be like, hey, just do whatever you want, have fun.
Yeah, a little bit more of a sandbox end of the expansion, maybe.
Yeah.
I will say if they do let us pick, I don't know about you guys, but I'm always picking the shield one, just always. just because it's free and
Yeah.
actually a lot of damage, and you can do some clever things on like Sylvanas where you get the final shield before the first intermission, and you kill the shield and it does like 2% of her health, and so you start the next phase with her 2% lower.
Yeah. Yeah, shield would be nice. A shield or moats, I feel like, are like the easiest ones.
The reason I say
As
shield
long-
and not moats is that moats are laggy. That's the only reason.
Depends on
That's
your
fair.
computer.
No, I don't think. I think it
I've
depends on
never
your
had issues
add-ons.
with it.
I think it depends on your add-ons.
That's probably true. Yeah, add-ons really bog down stuff.
Yeah.
But as a Windwalker, I'm all for moats every boss, please. Like, 'cause that's how we're rank 1.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Damage
I can
is
see that.
perfect.
Is that going to be changing in Dragonflight? Jumping right into the Windwalker talents. Is that going to be changing in Dragonflight? Are you all keeping the AoE Fiesta that you currently occupy?
For the most part, yes. For the most part, yes.
Awesome.
Nice segue, though.
Hell today.
But yeah, so typically, basically, Windwalkers are not losing much of their AoE potential. We'll go through it, but you still have Bone Dust Brew, you still have Coordinate. We still have Calculated Strikes. We have Mark of the Crane. All of this stuff has boosting our AoE. Is still there. Plus, they're boosting Fist of Fury, which is also an AoE, and they're pumping out all this. And then we'll get into it later, but they're also throwing in some Touch of Death AoEing and Blackout Kick AoEing. So AoEing as a Windwalker is not going away anytime soon.
Nice. Well, how about let's walk through some of the stuff in this tree. We don't need to go through every single talent node because there's a lot of them, and that will take a while. But if there's things
I saw a list, and actually, Windwalkers have one of the highest number of nodes. So yeah.
Yeah. There's a lot of 1 points in here. Actually, like very, very few nodes that have second point.
And even then, they're mostly for increasing the damage of specific abilities.
Right.
Yeah, Rising Star is a great example. Let's just increase Rising Sun Kick damage by 1%. 2 points in that. Spin
5 and 10%, yeah.
Yeah, it's actually. Is that it?
In addition to the fast feet, so in the general talent tree.
Yeah, fast feet is a powerhouse. The great brewmaster talent there.
Yeah, very good Mistweaver one too.
But okay, let's go through some of the things here. So the very first talent point that you have to take in the Windwalker tree is Fist of Fury. This is what you get at level 10 when you pick the Windwalker spec, or I guess it's level 11. When you pick Windwalker, you put your first point in the spec tree, you get Fist of Fury. And then after that, we have some returning favorites. Well, I don't know about favorites. Returning things that I have never taken from the current talent tree, as well as Touch of Karma. Is there anything noteworthy about getting Ascension and Power Strikes, like basically for free?
Actually, I did. So I actually have beta, and I just finished up the leveling process earlier this morning, and I used both Ascension and Power Strikes because it just allowed for more chi generation over the long term.
Right.
So I tended to pick both of them in almost all my builds, actually.
Yeah, same here. I tend to think that the Ascension and Power Strikes thing, it's sort of like a way to keep the current energy and chi generation that we sort of see in Shadowlands and BFA to some extent. I know Babylonius does not like this, where we're overloaded with a bunch of energy and chi, and like we don't have much downtime anymore.
Yeah,
But that seems to be the direction they want to go. So I think that's probably what Windwalkers should expect. At least
Um,
for current design.
well, it kind of leads, I'm skipping ahead slightly. Having these two together actually helps teaching of the monastery later on because of the fact that Rising Sun Kick costs 2 chi. Say, for example, you get teaching of a monastery proc, which resets Rising Sun Kick. You can go right
Right.
into the next Rising Sun Kick. So it does help in that standpoint. Because overall, actually, while leveling, teaching of the monastery was a powerhouse for me.
Gotcha.
Yeah. That's interesting. I know Babs is one that likes having the downtime. And so I would actually not be super surprised if he stays on maybe not Feral, but another class, just because, Rogue, for example, one of their 3 specs is always going to have downtime. Just like energy classes, it's very easy to have a rotation with downtime while you wait and pool
Well,
energy for things.
there is still downtime because teaching in the
Okay.
monastery isn't a guarantee.
Right.
And so it's like this will be later on once we start getting into the APL action priority list, whether to blackout kick or not, actually. At which
Interesting.
point, and if you don't get a reset, you have some downtime.
Gotcha. So let's go down this left side of the tree first, because this is going to take us down towards Bone Dust Brew. So we have over here, we have Mark of the Crane. So that's a talent before the first talent gate. There's no changes to this,
Well,
right?
actually, before that, and you have Feathers of the 100 Flux, which increases your damage by 15 and 30.
Isn't that... Wait.
I'm very glad they added that. That's Torghast power.
Oh, sorry, 15%, no 30. Excuse me.
Yeah. Yeah. So that just makes your spinning crane kick bigger.
Mm-hmm.
And then Mark of the Crane, that's the same as it is right now, right?
Same as it is right now. No change whatsoever.
Perfect. And we've got before we can proceed past this gate, we've got to take, what, 2 more points?
Yeah, so I would go with Ascension and Power Strike, and then actually I would go with Flashing Fist and Open Palm Strikes. Because of the fact that Fist of Fury is an AoE, you're still going to be wanting to AoEing with it, so you pick those 2 up as well, and then you can start picking up Beyond the 8.
Gotcha.
I think it's gonna depend on tuning on if you take 2 points of Flashing Fists or 1 point of Open Palm Strikes, because it depends on like how much that damages. I actually don't think in AoE that the 1 chi refund is that good.
You also you do need
damage.
You need 2 points in one of these 3 abilities. There's 3 abilities next to each other. Touch of the Tiger Palm damage increased by 25 or 50%. Hardened Souls, Blackout Kick, Critical Strike Chance, and Critical Strike Damage increased by 2 and 4%. And then Flashing Fist, which is Fist of Fury damage, increased by 5 and then 10%. You need to take 2 points in one of those 3 in order to get to Flying Serpent Kick, which is, you can live without that. You may not want to, but you can. And then past that,
so wrong.
Yeah,
you have to take Flying Serpent Kick in order to get to either Storm, Earth, and Fire or Serenity.
Mm-hmm.
Good point.
So you always have to take one of those 3. And I'm guessing. Sorry.
I was gonna say too, like just in terms of pathing, you guys have so many options, right? Like we're talking about already being past the first gate, and we haven't put talent points in like what 4 nodes? Where like
3 nodes.
3.
Well, I count 3 nodes, but yeah.
Yeah, which I mean, is that? I guess the idea would be is like the tuning part you mentioned, like the after ascension nodes, basically just you would probably pick whichever one of those abilities is your hardest hitting, and then buff it even more. Would be the idea. As you sort of moved.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's sorry. I didn't mean to cut in, but that's like just looking at this seems absolutely wild to me that you have so many nodes before your 8-point gate.
Yeah.
Like you almost have to
overwhelm
invest
them.
like 9 and 10 points early.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
It's very possible you might do
yeah,
that. I have
yeah,
to
which
say though,
yep.
if we're talking about M plus and like raw AoE, there's actually versus like smaller grouped AoE, like 3, 2, 3, 4 targets. There's a little caveat where you would actually not take flashing fists. You would take hardened souls, I think,
Okay,
because of shadowboxing treads.
right. So Shadowboxing Treads
Um,
is a talent we talked about as part of the Brewmaster one. This is gonna let you Blackout Strike. Well, for one thing, it currently says Blackout Kick damage increased by 50%, which is actually kind of a lot. But then it also strikes 2 additional targets. I don't
which
know if
is
that first bit will stay there, but the second
I
bit
think
will.
it should.
Yeah.
Like on
Uh,
live, you go ahead.
yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say on live, just to give you an example, my blackout kick probably hits for about 3,000 damage ish, and then that would put up to 4,500. So it's not like a huge increase, but I think when you add 2 additional targets and you're blackout kicking a lot, I think that would be a reasonable tuning for that talent. So
That's a
go
lot,
ahead, Tina.
but maybe I'm just too tank brain,
Well,
not used to
you look at
DPS
like
numbers enough.
warlocks. Yeah, you look at like warlocks. They have havoc. They have full damage on like 2 targets. Like there's like a
The
lot of
secondary target
overpowered stuff
doesn't.
on other.
Well, maybe it does in
Well,
beta. I don't know, but the
I
Havoc.
actually can't remember if they did change that,
Yeah, I don't know.
but
That's a great
yeah,
point because I know on live they don't
I
have
don't
full
know.
damage on the second target, but I don't know if they do on Dragonflight beta.
hmm I think it just gives Windwalker a tool that a lot of other specs have to do more like low target cleave that's not
Yeah,
requiring bonus spruce, spinny crane kick spam,
yeah,
and like the bug back in CN where we could have permanently 6 stacks, which was used John Huntsman.
right.
So
Yeah. Below
Just
that. Oh, go ahead.
to go back, I found a list that Blood Mallet had posted, and Windwalker currently has 15 nodes pre 8 gate. On average, for every other spec, is anywhere between 11 nodes and 13 nodes. So
Gotcha.
we're on the high side in terms of pre 8 nodes.
Yeah, yeah. Definitely feels like I. It definitely feels like you just put points in things you want, and then that unlocks the 8-point gate. Whereas some other specs, it feels like you take the things you want, and then you have to take some other things just to unlock the gate.
Yeah, I mean that's definitely how the Mistweaver tree is laid out. Like it's not even that you take the things you want; it's just everything you want is within the first 8 points you spend, and like that's all you need to spend,
Right.
before you move on. So yeah, that's I mean, yeah, I guess we'll keep going through the tree, but to me that seems like a little bit of like a disservice to Windwalkers in that like any additional points you spend before 8 are just less points you can spend at the end, right? For like your past 20, which
Well,
should be like your larger buffs, right?
you
For
don't
spells.
have to like the extra ones you spend before 8 still count for unlocking the 20-point gate.
Oh, that's true. See, well, I mean, you're just spending less
Yeah.
points in the next gates, right? Which is,
Yeah.
as you go down the tree, your power, like the talent should be more and more impactful, which means you want to spend more points later, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, you are right. It doesn't impact the 20 just yet, so or 20-point gate just yet.
So other things we have on this side of the tree, we've got Inner Peace, which is just increases maximum energy by 10, which leads into hit combo, which is somewhat divisive.
Very divisive. And is fairly odd that is on the left hand side compared to, say, the right hand side because of the fact that hit combo encourages you to work with your mastery. However, Bone Through does the complete opposite where you're just spamming spinning crane kicks. So
Right.
it's like, why do you have hit combo over here and then have a almost masterless build for Bone Through? So
Yeah. I mean, you can
yeah.
actually like path around it. Like you can path around it like we're probably going to here. We have Dance of Chi-Ji as well, so we probably take that for AoE, right? That's still a super good AoE talent. And then we have Rushing Jade Wind that we could take, or Hidden Master's Forbidden Touch, which I don't recognize. Is this new?
So this is a legendary
Okay.
in Shadowlands where I can't remember offhand if the 40% is in there or not, but I think it is, if I remember correctly. But the way it works is you do Touch of Death, and then for 5 seconds, there's like a hidden buff where it allows you to use Touch of Death a second time. Then it puts it on to cooldown.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I don't know if you said legendary, if I heard that, but that's
Yeah, it was legendary.
no, or not in Shadowlands at least.
Yes, it is.
That's Fatal Touch, which just reduces the
Right, that's in
cooldown by
the
2
in the
minutes.
class tree.
Oh,
Yeah.
maybe, okay.
Oh.
Maybe it was Legion then. Excuse me.
It could have been. I don't know.
Yeah, it was a legendary at one point.
Okay.
I think
Yeah, I was
you're
gonna
right
say-
where it's in Legion.
I've done a lot of Touch of Death memes in Torghast, and I feel like if this were a Shadowlands legendary and I had somehow missed it in those Touch of Death runs, I would have been highly disappointed.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a legendary at one point, and I think it was. Now that I think about it, I think it was Legion that was this. So as for Russian Jade Wind, same thing it is now. The issue really is that it's hard to put weave it into the rotation.
Right.
Because Tiger Palm gives 2 chi, and Spinning Cricket costs 2 chi. It's kind of hard to use a 1 chi outside of what you get from, say, Open Palm Strike or Power Strike,
Right.
where it gives you a free chi every 15 seconds.
But Rushing Jade Wind is a 6-second cooldown, so you want to be pushing it more often than every 15 seconds.
Yeah, exactly. So in some ways it would feel better if they wanted to and this past build they increased the damage by I believe 100%, I want to say, or something like that.
That doesn't surprise me.
And so it's like, yeah, that's nice, but it's still not very hard to actually utilize in our AoE rotation. So the best way to do it is actually to increase the cost of 2 chi.
Gotcha, and then up the damage accordingly, right? Like you make it worth 2 chi, yeah.
Or do something similar to Brewmaster, where instead of its 6 seconds, it's 9 seconds.
Right. Well, for Brewmaster, it's also free, which is a big part of the reason we run it. Because it is a GCD that we get. Like in order to maintain the fact that we don't run haste, we need things that don't cost energy, and Rushing Jade Wind is one of those things that it does damage and it doesn't cost anything.
Now, the other option is to revert back to Myth Pandaria / Warlords of Draenor version, where it costed chi, but it refunded it costed energy, excuse me, but it refunded chi if it hit 3 targets.
Gotcha. So it's kind of a chi generator?
Somewhat in an AoE situation, yeah.
Yeah. Interesting. I think for now, we're going to pick up Hidden Master's Forbidden Touch, and we need to go and take some other talents. We need 6 more points before we can progress through the 20-point gate.
Okay,
I had a quick comment about the Rushing Jade Wind. So I actually think it's okay to have it there because it's out of the way, and it gives an option for players who actually do other stuff in the game besides like high-end content to run through dungeons and just smash that button and just do that content really easily on Windwalker. Because Windwalker's always had, when I was doing content, if I can't remember if Rushing Jade Wind was always available to Windwalker, but like having to like Tiger Palm, then Spinning Crane Kick, and then you're out of chi again in like trying to like kill all those mobs. You don't really have very good tools to do that when running old content or doing stuff like that. So I think the spot's fine. I just don't know if it has a place in like end game content.
Yeah.
That's my take on it, honestly.
Yeah. It's funny because Brewmaster might be dropping Rushing Jade Wind this expansion for the first time since the rework in Legion. Well, since Nighthold, I guess, because we're gonna run out of GCDs. Crazy. But yeah, so moving over towards the left, or sorry, the right side of the tree, we have Glory of the Dawn, which is above the 8-point gate, so it's something you can take early on. We haven't picked it up. I'm gonna.
But it's actually advisable that you do pick it up.
Okay.
The reason why is because down and to the right of it is Jade Ignition.
Right.
This is the exact same legendary that is in Shadowlands, and it's a variation of Chi Explosion from Warlords of Draenor.
Okay.
That's like the big contention spell within the Windwalker vet channel. It's just absolutely strange for it to be over there.
Yeah.
I don't understand it at all. Like,
Based
do you
off of what is so, as Anomoly would attest to, there was a blue post that came out 2 Fridays ago where they talked about wanting to apply some pathing options to the talent tree. And something to kind of give and take what they want instead of focusing all on the left side and all on the right side. They wanted some that are on the opposite sides just to kind of spread out the talents. And I think this is their attempt at it.
So I think an interesting thing here is because of how we've got this over on this side, it does present the option of taking different things. Like if there were no AoE talents on the right side at all, or all on the left side, if we're building for AoE in Mythic Plus, then we never need to consider anything that's over here.
Right. Yeah. And I think, I mean, the way that it works, like the way that I think Blizzard's thinking about, or the way that they put it into words, like Hina sort of mentioned, is they want to create like some level of pressure, which is why you'll see like hit combo to the left, right, in line with Bone Dust Brew, and then this talent, which is very much AoE focused, all the way on the right. They want to make it so like you basically, if they stacked all the talents that synergize well together in one area of the tree, then you basically just filled in that left hand. Like,
right.
It's not a talent tree, and there's not really a choice, right? Like, I think the idea is there should be like the way that you should look at talents from a decision point of like, okay, I really want this, but I have to give up something to get it. You shouldn't be able to say, I want this and I can get everything because it all works together, right? So that's probably the reason it's all the way over there, is that they probably see that, yeah, this would be great in an AoE situation. It's great synergy with like Bone Dust Brew and like all the other, spinning crane kick talent, increases you get on the left side. So they want you to sort of have to spend some points over here on the right to like, just spread them out basically.
There's also like if Jade Ignition were not over here, like we've got Strike of the Windlord over here. I don't know if Strike of the Windlord is going to be any good. It was.
It hits like a truck.
It should be, but
and it's an AoE in front of you.
Right. I just remember like in Legion, it was kind of carried by some of the extra stuff that it did from the artifact, more than the actual damage that the ability did hit hard in Legion too, right? But
yeah.
It did not hit as hard as like Rising Sun Kick with the tier set. If I remember correctly, or at least
I can't remember off the top of my head.
But it's something that like if Jade Ignition weren't over here, you would never really consider pathing all the way over here for Strike, or maybe you would just because you have to unlock the 20-point gate. But like, it feels better to put the points over here. Like, the weird thing I think that we could end up with, is having to take Jade Ignition in order to get Strike of the Windlord if you want that for single target.
And I'll get to that later, but yeah, in some ways you do take Jade Ignition for single target. Well, you take Jade Ignition, but you also take Dance GD for single target.
Right. So you're gonna we'll do a single target build later, but there's some cross pollination between the two branches. For now, there's a couple of cooldown reduction talents, and I want to know if they're any good. So we've got Drinking Horn cover. This is a Legion legendary. The duration of Storm, Earth, and Fire and/or Serenity is extended for each chi that you spend while they're active.
You take.
Easy take. All right, cool.
Yeah.
Then we
That's an
got
easy take for both Serenity and Storm, Earth, and Fire.
yeah.
Just with the nature of the game, cooldowns are king. Always want to do stuff that make your cooldowns more, better, longer.
So that means we also want to take Spiritual Focus. Every 2 chi you spend
Yes.
reduces the cooldown of Storm, Earth, and Fire. Yeah.
We
All
finally get to take SF. It's amazing.
So
Sometimes.
my only complaint with Spiritual Focus is now that they fixed it so that Serenity is affected by it. It seems weird that you have to take Meridian Strike or Jade Ignition just to pick it up.
Right. At least Meridian Strikes
Yeah.
doesn't seem like that weird. Well, okay, sorry, backing up. It does seem weird in like a raid setting where you really can't touch of death until the boss is low. But it does mean on like a boss where
Like
30
Anduin.
yeah, where the last like 20-30% is going to take a while. Getting to touch of death and then touch of death again, it's pretty good. Seems pretty good.
Well, no, I'm thinking of like Anduin where you're in the down phase.
Yeah. Anything with ads is also like having more touch of death is good, and actually with the cooldown reduction from Fatal Touch in the class tree, this is going to be a very low cooldown.
Exactly.
Yeah. I think they need to up the touch of death reduction by at least up to 1 second per combo strike, because it's just you're not going to take the Fatal Touch.
Really?
Not in a raid setting.
So we're getting feedback.
Well, I would actually agree because all the builds I'm building out actually don't even touch Meridian Strike.
Okay.
It feels like a dead talent point, honestly, when you're looking at a raid specific talent tree.
Yeah, but if you're in like a mythic, if you're in a mythic plus, I would probably take it. But in a raid setting, probably not.
Yeah, it's just one of those things that's where it's great for mythic plus, bad for raiding, and it's I think the position it's in too of a important position on the tree, right in the middle there. I'd rather see Jade Ignition where Meridian Strikes is, honestly, if they swap those two.
Gotcha. That would let you. Well, that would put you in a situation where you would have to like separately go for Jade Ignition and Strike with the Windlord for the AoE build.
That's true. I don't know. It'd be a little bit complicated to actually find a good spot for Meridian Strikes, or they could just scrap it and put something else. I just think it's sort of a. I'm not even sure why they put that in there. It's sort of boring. I think relying on Touch of Death for Windwalker is. There's far too many in general Touch of Death talents in this tree. Touch of Death isn't good. I don't know what they're trying to do.
All right. Well,
I mean,
it sounds
Touch
like
of Death can be good, but I could go on a soapbox. But yeah,
it sounds like the Windwalkers don't want Touch of Death. So this is like, if any of the designers are listening, you can take all of their Touch of Death toys and give them to Brewmasters, and we will very happily take them. Please and thank you.
And I highly recommend. I actually think this might be a technological limitation. I don't know if they can make it more responsive, but it's very, very unresponsive.
Oh yeah, it sucks.
The biggest problem is that it doesn't scale into the expansion. So as like stamina doesn't scale the same as like health pool increases do on mobs. So as the expansion goes further and further in, the combination of you having a small health pool relative to the execute range and how much damage people do with spells. A Chaos Bolt is doing the same damage as Touch of Death right now. It's absolutely insane.
But have you seen Brewmasters?
Well, okay,
and like Brewmaster is not gonna. It's not gonna be
stamina increases and stuff.
So. Yeah, like Brewmasters are not gonna have the 4-piece that we have now in Dragonflight, which is part of the reason that Touch of Death is just crazy good right now. When your Brewmaster is effectively doubling their health from the tier set, obviously Touch of Death gets significantly better. And they already have like 30 or 40% more health than a Windwalker baseline.
Mm-hmm.
So,
well, if a class designer is listening, just reduce as many or get rid of as many Touch of Death talents as possible from the Windwalker tree. Just leave it as a baseline 3-minute thing for us to use on occasion that could be useful. Give Brewmaster all the cool touch of that stuff. They're the spec that can really utilize
Dude,
it.
I
The current
can't
version
wait
of it.
for
So,
Brewmaster to get all of the Touch of Death stuff, and then for it to just be like the best at killing ads, like better than DPS at killing ads, because you just get your DPS to get it to like 30 or 40% health, and then the Brewmaster just it ceases to exist.
I'm just imagining executing 5 like Iglis with current tuning numbers, 5 mobs at 300k HP. Actually 10 because you could do the 5-second reset. So you execute. How much damage is it? That's 2 million damage within 5 seconds.
Yeah.
Oh,
Sounds good. Give
look
it.
at
Give it. That's like you look at like if we had that in Mythic Plus, if we had the AoE one in Mythic Plus, you could already walk into a pack as a Brewmaster. And like we're not talking super high keys. This is very much like a fun 15s kind of thing. You walk into a pack, you've got your stacks of your four set, and just all of the mobs are in Touch of Death range. So you just like walk up to it, you find a caster that's really annoying, bam, Touch of Death. If we had the AoE, 4 other things also die. And if we had the cooldown reduction and Fatal Touch, honestly, I don't see a reason why you wouldn't just run 4 or 5 Brewmasters in a key. You probably,
yeah.
I mean, I guess I do know the reason why. It's because bosses exist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Because if you're in that situation, you're probably in a fortified.
yeah, and that's I guess that is basically what the Touch of Death build in Torghast is for Brewmasters. Is you play Fatal Touch as a legendary, and you take all of the powers that say Touch of
Well,
Death on them.
you can do that with Windwalker as well, but
Brewmaster
you
has
have
more
to,
health.
Yeah, you have to be stacking a lot of the stamina, Torghast abilities.
Plus, you can do that anyway on Brewmaster, and then you'll have more stamina baseline. And yeah, it's just like change Brewmaster specs, quick and easy. You don't die easily, too. So
yeah.
Anyway,
I actually kind of want to go in. This is one of the only times I have had fun, like a lot of fun with Torghast, is doing the Touch of Death build. But we are super off topic now. But
yeah, very much.
Yep.
Returning to the talent tree,
Yes.
we have Invoke Zuen as one of the last things before the 20-point gate. That's a good button, right? We take that.
Whatever you can do to get that button, you have to get it. Like
Yeah, okay.
no matter what you're doing, you have to get Zuen.
All right, that unlocks the 20-point gate, but there's 2 more talents. There's Teaching of the Monastery, which we have talked about a few times. Is that a talent that we're going to take for AoE, or is that a single target thing?
Probably. Well, it's too early to say.
Okay.
We don't know at this point whether the stuff like shadowboxing treads
Right.
or hardened souls are going to affect the extra blackout kick
Right.
proc that Teaching of the Monastery applies.
Right. So for any Windwalkers that might be listening that have literally never spec'd into Mistweaver, this is the Mistweaver talent or passive that says when you Tiger Palm, your next blackout kick strikes an additional time, and then also when your blackout kick goes off, you have a 15% chance to reset the cooldown on Rising Sun Kick. So Rising Sun Kick is a single target button. It's a good one, but it's single target. The question is basically, is the AoE that you get on blackout kick from shadowboxing treads worth playing this in AoE?
Well, we right now on beta is not applying the shadowboxing treads, nor do I think is working with hardened souls yet.
Okay.
So if it does apply to shadowboxing treads and hardened souls, then very likely it could be picked up in AoE. Otherwise, it's a single target thing.
Gotcha.
If they don't apply to that, that's just bad programming. I don't know why they wouldn't connect those 2 things together. But
the other one that it could apply to, but right now it's not, is transfer to power.
Yeah, I don't think we've talked about that one yet, but we will.
Yeah, we haven't, but that's another one that we need to take a look at.
Okay.
So to get like the practical, I'm gonna assume that they're going to connect the 2 things together with shadowboxing treads. So this actually is a really complicated talent, more so than I was expecting, because if you're in a raid situation with 2 to 3 targets, There's a high chance that Rising Sun Kick hits so hard that you still will Rising Sun Kick on 2 to 3 targets, which isn't really true as much these days.
Gotcha.
So if the tuning works out like that, you could potentially be taking Teaching of the Monastery and Shadowboxing Treads for 2 to 3 target cleave boss fights or like council fights.
Gotcha.
Just because um Blackout Kick and Rising Sun Kick are just going to be higher value than Spinning Crane Kick in general, and you just
Gotcha.
might not Spinning Crane Kick ever.
Interesting. We also have over here, as a node off of Strike of the Windlord, we have Thunder Fist.
This is a single target talent.
Okay.
So the way it works is for each target you hit with Strike of the Windlord, you get a buff, and for every auto attack that you do, will discharge on your current target
Gotcha.
this Thunder Fist proc. So it's an AoE, but it focuses all of your damage onto a single target.
Gotcha. You know what this needs? This needs those like lightning discharges. Those needs those to be chain lightning. That's what it,
Or just plain flat AoE.
no, yeah. Chain lightning looks cooler.
Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah, the Junkert's Zapbots.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's interesting because that's like the single target side, but they have the AoE and then the single target right after it.
I think
I'm
it's
actually starting to like it a lot more. The Jade, I still just am caught up with Jade Ignition requiring Spinning Crane Kick.
yeah.
I really wish, and they had this for just a short amount of time, and I don't know, beta or something, but you could use Expel Harm to trigger Jade Ignition,
Gotcha.
and that felt amazing. It was perfect because you're always going to Expel Harm.
Right.
So it's like 15 seconds. You have time to, you know,
Build up
you'll get a
stacks.
you'll get a Fist of Fury in between. Then this is for single target, mine. And then you can just Expel Harm on CD, and you may or may not have Jade Ignition stacks. That's fine. It's single target.
Yeah.
Now, for AoE, that would be a problem because then you wouldn't get your Expel Harm chi as much because you'd probably want to save up. Actually, no, they would still work out because Fist of Fury would hit enough targets to max stack Jade Ignition.
Okay.
So there's pretty much no downside to putting in on Expel Harm for the trigger.
Yeah. There's stuff like in the Brewmaster tree, Blackout combo got some new triggers and some updated triggers because that talent needed love desperately.
Like our combo, yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, maybe you'll get some attention on Jade Ignition there to make it a little bit more usable and single target. Or maybe the idea is that you take it and you take Dance of Chi-Chi and single target, and then your Dance of Chi-Chi procs are how you trigger Jade Ignition.
My issue is just the budget to get to Dance of Chi-Chi. I'm not.
Yeah.
It looks like it's fine because you get Inner Peace, which is actually really nicely placed. Because you know, increasing your maximum energy is totally great, especially raid when you have downtime doing mechanics.
Yeah.
I've always said this in the past that Ascension. I know people is like, oh, it seems the same. It's like, no, Ascension has an advantage of downtime. Like it just does. Like if you are sitting on more energy and chi, that enables you to have a higher damage output once you get back into the combat. Whereas Fist of White Tiger is great if you can just do it right on CD, right on CD. You know, it does a lot of damage.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So Inner Peace is good for that side of the thing because of the fact that you have things like Fist of Fury, and then later down the tree, Last Emperor's Capacitor, where it kind of works against Inner Peace because these two have the chance of energy capping, and so having Inner Peace not really needed all the time, but in terms of AoE, very likely you have some of the time.
Gotcha. Interesting. Yeah. Speaking of some of the talents down at the bottom of the tree, we've got the 20-point gate unlocked. Let's go through some of those. So going back to the left side real quick, because I think this is going to be most familiar to people that currently are playing Windwalker. We've got a couple talent points we just dump into spinning crane kick damage increased. Nothing very exciting there. But then doing so unlocks Bone Dust Brew. It is literally just identical to what it is right now.
Yep. And then below that, we have Bone Marrow Hops, which is currently the 170 item level version, or whatever it is.
Right, that's the conduit for Bone Dust Brew that increases the damage it does and reduces the cooldown a little bit.
Very strong conduit after they buffed it.
Yeah. And then we also have Calculated Strikes, which is the also the conduit that increases the Mark of the Crane damage, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And this is increasing the damage bonus from each stack, right? So it says 10%.
Additive.
But if you have 5 stacks, is that 50% increased damage?
I need to relook at the...
so Calculated Strikes is supposed to be, at least how it works in the current implementation Shadowlands, it's additive. So it's, let's say you get 15% from baseline Mark of the Crane, and then you have Calculated Strikes Conduit at 10%, you're going to get 25% per Mark of the Crane stack.
Okay, yeah.
So
that's pretty good.
Yep, that's why our AoE is completely insane this expansion, was because of that conduit. Like, quite literally, we were expecting that to get nerfed the entire expansion, and it just never did.
Amazing.
Actually, never did at all. Yeah.
Yeah, so it is, like you said, Calculated Strike is additive before Mark of the Crane talent is applied.
Wild.
Yeah, pretty much all AoE. Anytime you're going to press Spinning Crane Kick, you're going to want to try to get Calculated Strikes, because there's just so many Spinning Crane Kick buffs, talents, all the way down to it.
Gotcha.
Whether you take Bone Marrow Hops, depends on tuning.
Yeah. I'm going to remove a point from that for now, so we have more to pick up elsewhere. Right next to it as well, we have Fatal Flying Guillotine. This is a Torghast power. Touch of Death strikes up to 4 additional nearby targets. Mm-hmm. I want this as a Brewmaster. Like, Brewmasters have actually been... there are people that like Bone Dust Brew, right? We have Bone Dust Brew in our tree. There are people that like Bone Dust Brew. I am not one of them. I would be super happy to see Bone Dust Brew removed, and they take the Bone Dust Brew section of our tree, and they just make it the Touch of Death section, and they take all of your Touch of Death toys and they just put them there. Give us Fatal Flying Guillotine, give us the cooldown reduction stuff, give us the ability to push the button twice. That would be amazing. Give us that. That sounds phenomenal.
Yeah, that'd be great. I have to say though, I forgot to mention, I'm a little bit annoyed that they kept Bone Dust Brew refunding 1G. We'll see how that plays out. Yeah. It's just it's literally just a class design or a spec design problem, because if you're gonna make a mastery don't repeat the same ability, and then you're gonna put in a talent that says please repeat the same ability, that's obviously a contradiction. Yeah. And when you have contradictions, that just is a objective measure of bad game design. So they should look at that again and see if that's something they think makes sense. I don't think it makes sense. I think they could do something different. I'd like to see something different, maybe Spinning Crane Kick has a chance, Bone Dust Brew has a chance to reset your Fist of Fury. Yeah. While you Spinning Crane Kick or something. I don't know, something different, just that doesn't break your mastery. Yeah, I mean that's actually massive contention Maximum from Liquid has, since he's a big Windwalker guy. He absolutely deplores that playstyle.
Yeah, I mean,
sorry, this is kind of going back to what I said earlier, where we're talking about a masterless build of Windwalker is because of a Bone Dust Brew.
Yeah, there's I don't necessarily agree that the contradictions between abilities are necessarily bad design. I think that they're having tension where you want to do one thing and a different ability wants you to do a different thing can be good. It forces you to make decisions. You don't just get to have your cake and eat it too. Mm-hmm. But I think that Bone Dust Brew asking you to spam spinning crane kick and have it be obviously the best thing that you can do 100% of the time that you take the talent is not great. Certainly,
Y-
like that was the
Yeah.
hardest thing for me, like off specking Windwalker, was having to really get it through my head that yes, you really do just spinning crane kick during Bone
Sort
Dust
of.
Brew.
There's more advanced things you can do, but yeah.
I mean,
Most of your damage comes from it, 90, 85%.
right, like there's the setup. You get everything. You get all of your Mark of the Crane stacks. You hit, Stormwrath and Fire, and then you push spinning crane kick a whole lot.
Yeah, a lot.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, we'll see. To like clarify though, like the contradiction, I'm talking about like a direct one where it's you have a thing is like don't do this, and then then the other things do this, and if yeah, it's great to have contention like you're saying, but this is not one of those examples. This is
yeah.
like legitimately you lose 20 whatever. I mean, we don't even take as much mastery anymore except single target. It's like
Right.
you lose 22% ish damage that you're supposed to get from one of your stats because
The
that's
stat
just
just
like the
doesn't
game
work
design
here
of the
because of
thing.
the
Yeah,
design of Bone
it's
Dust Brew. Yeah,
stupid.
yeah.
But yeah,
Uh,
you're talking about fatal flying guillotine. I mean, you just take that, in AOE for sure.
yeah,
Is assuming you're gonna have mobs within close range of each other
yeah,
that have similar health pools.
yeah.
Pretty
So
simple.
like in a key basically is what you're saying.
Yeah, it definitely is pretty guaranteed to be taking the keys.
Um, we also have a couple more Zuen talents over here. We've got Zuen spawns. So this is currently a conduit, right? Abilities that
That is correct.
activate combo strike. So this is anything that triggers your mastery. Reduce the cooldown of invoke Zuen, and Zuen's damage is increased.
Yeah.
So going further down this logic of always take things that give you more of your cooldowns, picking
Yep.
this.
Really good. This will actually come down to because of talent allocation for AoE. This may actually be a kind of numbers game type thing.
Right.
Yeah.
And same thing. And same thing with Fury of Zuen, which is right next to it.
Right.
That's going to be a numbers game. Now, next to that, we have Empower Tiger Lightning, which is the rank 2 of Invoke Zuen, which is
Right.
on live. This will take almost all the time.
Right. It's a
Fury of
huge
Zuen,
part of his power.
yeah, it's a huge part of his power. Fury of Zuen right now does not get affected by a Power Tiger Lightning because
Oh.
it's a
Yeah.
separate Zuen.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh, so
but yeah,
are you saying that if you stack them, they don't work together, or is it even if you have your Fury of Zuen out without the regular Invoke Zuen, it doesn't get Empowered Tiger Lightning?
it does not get Empower Tiger Lightning.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So I'm not sure if this is like a implementation decision or just a bug because
It's probably
bugs over here.
it's,
Because
it's probably a bug because of the fact that we have what was it?
Well, like
It was the Weapons of Order legendary.
right.
yep, call to arms.
Yeah, Call to Arms. There was basically Zuen gets summoned when we get Weapons of Order. That gets applied in Tiger Lightning, but this Fury
Right.
Zuen does not. So it's probably is a bug, but
Yeah.
Yeah, and
We hope it is.
there's also like so Invoke Neozal for Brewmasters had a bug fix during Sepulcher to make his stomp go off on autocast more reliably on bosses with large hitboxes. So this is things like Halandris and the Jailer. But that bug fix doesn't apply to the Invoke Neozal from Call to Arms. So they are kind of like separate and have to be like when they patch one, they have to go through and patch all of them. And so it's probably just that Fury of Zuen hasn't had that attention yet and just needs that applied.
Yeah, I have a feeling. I have an idea of like why that stuff always happens based on like how they program it. But yeah, it's seems to be a nuisance for them. I hope they figure out a way to like make it more streamlined so they don't have to worry about it so much. But
Right. And then
Um, yeah.
over off of Empowered Tiger Lightning, we have Whirling Dragon Punch. Is this still like the end all be all? Always take this
Again, numbers.
So
numbers.
yeah, I have a different take on it
Okay.
personally. So I want to get on soapbox here this ability. So Whirling Dragon Punch is an ability that stun locks you for 1 or 1.5 seconds, and it has strange Z-axis properties. Which Z-axis being it's the 3D part of like the
The height,
game,
the jump height.
the jump. So like jumping is Z-axis. So um my issue is that as a melee spec, I should never have to stop moving. Like I should be able to do all my abilities without stopping my movement because that is what every other melee character, and I played all of them, can do too. They don't ever have to stop moving unless to
Mm,
cast a heal, or maybe the rare rogue one has the same Whirling Dragon Punch code.
there's also like I beam, right?
And I beam is the other one as well. So technically, you're still moving during I beam, and you can cancel. Here's the difference with I beam
You
and
can
Whirling
cancel
Dragon
I beam.
Punch. I beam, you can fell rush out of it.
Yeah.
Whirling Dragon Punch, I can't roll out of it. I'm in the air. I have like I can Q roll, and then I do that a lot where I Q roll, and then I'll instantly roll when I touch the ground.
Right.
But you can't. You're just stuck. You're
Yeah.
permanently. You're stunned. It's a like a actual stun.
Yeah.
And obviously it has a knockback prevention, which is fine. But they just really need to remove the stun lock of it, and I have the same complaint with Chi Burst being a cast as well. Melee should, how they have World of Warcraft designs melee, that you should always be able to move at all times. That's the benefit of being a melee versus ranged. And Whirling Dragon Punch, I mean, at least I know in the more like high end community, like you die to stuff like somewhat consistently because of Whirling Dragon Punch.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
when stuff one shots you and that's the content you're playing, you just feel like you are trying to do your DPS rotation optimally, and you just get punished for absolutely no reason.
Yeah. Or
And like,
looking at like Anduin, right? If you think about the Anduin down phase, those blue circles, they don't just do damage to you, and they don't one shot, but they do a decent chunk of damage. But they also apply a damage down. Like you do, what is it, 50% less damage while you have that debuff?
It's like 20% less per stack or something.
Okay, 20% less.
Yeah, I can't remember.
So if you're like, if one appears under you right as you are pushing Whirling Dragon Punch, you don't have time to move out of it.
Correct. That's the problem. It's like, it's not like just plan better, or just
right. Those things are always
better
spawning.
at the game.
By the way.
It's not skill based. It's just RNG, and RNG aspects I strongly dislike. I don't like that. I want to be able to determine my fate, and I'm never going to take Whirling Dragon Punch no matter the tuning. I refuse to take that talent. I'm not going to be taking it until they
we're
remove
gonna check
the
back
stun.
with you in
So,
10.0.
yeah, go ahead. I promise I'm not going to take it. So you can pull up my logs. You'll never see it. So
yeah. I mean, I totally get that. I 100% get that. Like, that is a very frustrating thing to have happen.
Oh, I've died to it several times, so yeah, I know the feeling.
Yeah, it's I totally get it. It's in the same vein actually as some of the stuff with roll, where sometimes you roll and like there's a pebble and it bounces you up and you just roll like twice as far, right?
yeah,
And then,
exactly. Or train issues with roll and
Yeah.
serpent kick and stuff. Yeah. And I mean, here's the only time you'll see it on my logs. The only exception is like Sire Denathrius. Like if knockback prevention is actually a pretty big deal, I'll take Whirling Dragon Punch because just for the mechanic, not for like how fun the ability is to push.
Right. Being able to Whirling Dragon Punch out of the knock in Phase 3 Denathrius is pretty neat.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And there's plenty of, there's a few other, times where that's happened on bosses.
And that's actually, so one of the strengths of the new style of talent tree is that this is a single point that you're putting into this, right? It is not, competing directly against any one individual other point in the tree. So if Whirling Dragon Punch is good on the boss, you can take it, and if it's not good on the boss, you can skip it.
It's in a great spot. It's literally between the two.
Yeah.
And it's the end. Like there's nothing after it. So
yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Like fine. If they don't touch it at all, I'll still be fine. You
Yeah.
know, personally.
So we've got a few more talents to get through, and then we are going to be out of time for this episode. I'm just going to call this the legendary section of the tree beneath the zoo end talents, and we're going to come back to that in a second, just like to kind of whet your appetite for that. Over on the, so we pass through the other part of the tree. Over on the right side of the tree, we've got the counterpart to the spinning crane kick damage is rising sun kick damage. And then below that is Feline Stomp.
Yeah.
I did not expect that.
No.
Yeah, a lot of people expected Weapons of Order, but yes.
Yeah.
Feline Stomp. And actually, in some single target builds, I will take it. Oh. Maybe not so the stuff beyond it, right. But I will at least take the baseline Feline Stomp.
So the stuff beyond it is the Feline Stomp Legendary, which if you're not familiar, basically the main thing is it resets it more often. And it gives you a damage amp against things that you hit with it. And then there's the Conduit for Feline Stomp, which is a pure AoE Conduit, in that it does stone cold nothing, pretty much, if you don't hit multiple targets. So I just wanted to like touch on that one because that was a really odd, I think, inclusion in the tree where I don't think a single Windwalker has ever taken Feline Stomp. I've never seen it. I actually I picked Night Fae initially in Shadowlands for Brewmaster because it was fairly close numbers wise, and then I had to do PvP for gear. And I switched off of it because it was so bad for Windwalker and PvP.
Yeah.
You monks who want it to be good, but it requires a lot of haste to do so.
Gotcha. It's like Feline Stomp has a lot of people in the kind of Brewmaster community that like want it to be good, but it's only good if you can stand in it a lot for Brewmaster. Like if you can stand in it all the time, and well, actually, it would still not be good in Dragonflight because the thing that makes it potentially good in Shadowlands is Nia. It's the Soulbinds that are just like completely overloaded for Night Fae.
The big issue is like, positional abilities need, like in modern gaming, need to have a strong trade-off. So your downside is that it's positional based and you can't move it, but the upside is that it just has to absorb an amount of damage. Like it has to be unbelievably highly tuned.
Right.
Because if you are able to sort of like, in a way it's sort of similar to Destro's Rain of Fire.
Right.
Like if you're able to keep mobs in that Rain of Fire, they just pump 100, 200, 300k DPS. It's insane.
Right.
But it's like Feline Stomp, it's like less frequent and it's
not nearly as much damage.
Weird. The shape is weird.
Yeah.
Like
it's random. The shape is random.
Yeah, and it's random. Like it's just there's so many downsides. Like they've got to make it do like a trillion damage just because of how many downsides it has.
Yeah. Like the one place that this actually saw real use for Brewmaster was on Pantheon, this tier in Sepulcher. Because you could just play it and then never move in phase 3 and just have constant 4-target cleave, stay in your Feline 100% of the time, and go nuts with it. It'd be extremely tanking because of the Nia Soulbind.
Yeah. I actually have Feline Stomp in my single target build.
Interesting.
Because it's probably just gonna probably do a good chunk of damage. And I also considered Feline Harmony potentially as well because you get that 8% increased damage for the target, which a raw 8% is always, that's just good.
That's a really good rate for a single talent point.
Assuming it works how I think it's going to work, it's just going to be a raw 8% to all damage you do to the target.
Yes,
so
that
if
is,
that
is how it works in Shadowlands. That is actually a significant thing. So like Brewmaster Covenant choice is dominated primarily by how well it works with Invoke Neozao. And so if something doesn't buff or interact with Stomp, it's just kind of dead in the water, which is why Venthyr is bad. Well, But Phalanx Harmony gives you the 8% damage buff to your stomp that's pretty much up always when you want it. So, yeah, it does apply like to pet damage, so this would buff damage done from Empowered Tiger Lightning and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So
Very interesting.
now let's return to the legendary section of the tree.
Yes.
So we got Last Emperor's Capacitor. This is a Legion legendary. Cheese Fenders increase the damage of your next Crackling Shade Lightning by 100% and reduce its cost by 5%, stacking up to 20 times. So for those keeping track at home, that is 2000% increased damage and 100% reduced cost at max stacks.
Yep.
I remember playing this in Legion. And I played Windwalker extremely casually, so like only heroic, only sometimes in heroic. And it was neat to push the button when you were like thinking like Fallen Avatar, where you had to move out, and you would move out and you would push Crackling Jade Lightning and just do like tons of damage.
Yeah, but you are channeling in place, and so similar, and because you can't move, fine if you can find 4 seconds where you're not moving. Hence the reason why Babs doesn't like it, because basically he's channeling in one place.
Right.
But it does hit like a freaking truck.
Yeah.
When it does hit.
If it's tuned properly.
Yeah.
Like in Legion, it was tuned well, and the cool thing, maybe a lot of Windwalkers don't know this, is that your clones actually replicate Crickling Jade Lightning, so you can actually Storm Within Fire and then do a max stack Emperor's Capacitor and do a lot of damage. I mean, that's what people did in Legion, I believe. Or no,
Yeah.
people took Serenity in Legion, right?
SCF got taken sometimes.
Yeah. Legion.
It's sort of mixed, wasn't it? It was pretty.
Yeah, it was a mix. It was a mix, and then yeah, it was a mix, and then
Serenity
it
was too complicated for me playing off-spec Windwalker, so I always took Storm Within Fire.
Yeah, Serenity was not easy.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh yeah, I was just gonna say, yeah, it's melee spec. You're stopping and casting. That doesn't make sense from a design perspective to me.
I will say, playing Fire Mage this season has given me a new appreciation for like the level of awareness that you have to have of the fight in order to plant and cast a 4-second long cast.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's fun watching Fired Up do that in Race World first.
Below Last Emperor's Capacitor, and also this has another connection, so you don't have to take Last Emperor's Capacitor for this. We've got Kiefer's Skyreach. This is a current Shadowlands legendary. Tiger Palm has a 10-yard range and dashes you to the target when used. Tiger Palm also applies an effect that increases your critical strike chance by 50% 6 seconds on the target, up to once per minute per target.
This will have a very, very, very niche usage. For example, for the Blood Council fight in Denathrius, Castle Denathrius, where you have those ads that come in and you have to burn them down real quick.
Right.
Great for that. Otherwise, that sprint though can kill you.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's definitely something like you can pick up this power in Torghast without having the legendary on, and I have 100% died to it. By like you think of like the last boss kind of stuff, where the last boss does a big smash and you got to move out of it, and you are ready to go back in, and you just hit that Tiger Palm a little bit too soon, and it dashes you back into the smash, and you just die.
Yeah, and I mean, we're not the only spec that has this, like, Bloodthirst from Warrior. Fury
Right.
Warrior has that, and they don't like it. But right along with it's a niche talent. There's places where it could be used, and it's great for PvP too. So good for the PvP players. I'm glad to see it come back and stay.
I would say this
I used it.
Sorry.
Oh, I was just gonna say I used it sometimes, and definitely PvP, and I actually used it for proc for a little bit on Kel'Thuzad because of the tank ads.
Right.
It's amazing to go right between them, and you get this damage amp on each one.
Right.
So, yeah.
Yeah. That's a great niche for it, is like jumping between ads of their spread. You like go and you kill one, and you go to the next one and you kill that one, and you get, you know, a 50% damage amp effectively on each one. It's also nice in world content. I think Kiefer's Skyreach and Fatal Touch are like the two best world content legendaries in Shadowlands. Fatal Touch is just like being able to touch of death, just a mob every minute is very good. And then Kiefer's Skyreach just, again, like the damage amp on every mob that you hit, and then also the mobility from it is very nice. So I think even if it doesn't have a ton of uses in PvE, there's still a bunch of other places that this talent gets picked.
I'd have to say Windwalker might be the fastest overtaking Druid for questing in the new expansion, because if I'm gonna rush get those touch of death talents and just Todd at like 5 mobs at a time, and it'll just reset and the cooldown will be reduced. It's just gonna be nuts. Like, you're just gonna breeze through questing.
Yeah, well, I just finished up the questing, and well, I was taking my time. I was actually reading the quest and whatnot, so I haven't done the second run through as a monk yet, but I could see that doing that, because going through the first time, some of the mobs hit like a fucking truck.
I was doing evoker leveling, and that's a real problem for evokers because they are squishy.
So if you don't have cooldowns up as a Windwalker monk, oh boy, some of these. Like, I didn't have, like, I remember one time I didn't have Tiger's Lust up, and this one mob rooted me and then hit me for half my health, and I died shortly afterwards.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll see. They like to make us weak about 5 levels in. You feel it.
Then there's Zuin's Battle Gear. This is the tier set from Tomb of Sargeras, right?
Yes.
Yep.
Rising Sun Kick critical strikes reduce the cooldown on Fist of Fury by 5 seconds. When Fist of Fury ends, the critical strike of Rising Sun Kick is increased by 50% for 5 seconds. This was a super good tier set and led to this playstyle of like alternating Rising Sun Kicks and Fist of Furies. Although this was like the era of canceling Fist of Fury. Like every patch you found a new reason to cancel it, right?
Yeah. And this talent works quite well with teaching at the monastery, where if you're able to get a teaching in the monastery proc happen within that 5 seconds, increased damage. So
yeah, there's also Glory of the Dawn, right? Does this work with Glory of the Dawn?
Yep. Definitely has a chance.
Interesting.
Oh, sorry. No, it's now it does not work with it yet, but it possibly could.
Maybe
it's a maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'd be a good decision if they did. Not just the reason why I'm not trying to be like biased, but like we need as much help as possible. This is the opportunity for them to make Windwalkers scale with everyone else. We are
in single target.
In single target. We are obviously always falling behind. They're always aura buffing us all the time. So
yeah,
let's take this opportunity, Blizzard, to I love this. Keep adding the critical strike, synergy.
And that actually
is fantastic. Like that's the perfect stat to have us scale with.
That actually
just keep doubling down on it.
Has some interactions with Skyreach, right? Where you get the extra critical strike chance, like you Tiger Palm and then you Rising Sun Kick, and that crit reduces Fist of Fury, and then you Fist of Fury with the extra crit, and it's just big damage. Granted, that's once a minute, because Skyreach is only once a minute, but
yeah, I mean, I'm very hopeful. I'm seeing all these different synergies with critical strike, and that is exactly what they needed to do. So I'm very happy about that.
So we got 2 more talent points, and then we are actually going to be out of time. We've got Transfer the Power, which I think is new.
No, it is.
It's not.
No, it's. God, what was it? Was I would say BFA.
Interesting.
Power.
Legion artifact trait.
Legion artifact.
Yeah,
Legion. Okay.
No.
Yeah, but it's from a while ago.
Yeah. So this is Blackout Kick and Rising Sun Kick. Increase damage dealt by your next Fists of Fury by 3%, stacking up to 10 times.
again, like I said, we don't know whether transfer of the power works with this or not. Right now, it does not, but it could.
Right.
Yeah, good talent. Fist of Fury needs to hit hard.
Yeah.
And I think they definitely have enough stuff finally to guarantee it. So, and obviously it gives you that skill ceiling, which Windwalker loves the high skill ceiling of, or how do you plan out your abilities? So I'm gonna plan out to stack this Fist of Fury, hold my Fist of Fury for this ad set that's coming. Let's say PR Hectic Ad Cleave. Plenty of raid bosses have periodic ads, so
Yeah.
hold that Fist of Fury buff, slam Fist of Fury when those ads come out. You're gonna just completely jump on the meters. It's gonna be really good.
Right.
I predict.
Yeah. And then below that, also connected to Zuen's Battle Gear, we have Invoker's Delight. This is the legendary from Shadowlands. You gain 33% haste for 20 seconds after summoning your Celestial.
Yeah.
So basically, Invoke Zuen is now just also a mini Bloodlust.
It feels required. I mean, it's been required for all of Shadowlands. I don't see that changing. Like, why would it change?
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
we're gonna have to require that up somehow, some way to path to it,
Yeah.
and then base builds outside of it.
Keep in mind, during the pre-patch, according to Blizzard's Blue Post, we basically the legendaries in Shadowlands take precedent over the class talents.
Right.
So during pre-patch, we will not be taking this.
Right. You'll take you wear the legendary instead.
Yeah.
Can we? Yeah, I guess. I mean,
which
we
will
won't
be
have as
helpful,
many points, right?
In pre-patch, you also have 5 fewer points in this tree, so that'll be helpful. You can
Right.
go
Yeah.
and you can pick up something else.
Like transfer the power.
Right. And
There's a lot
not,
of abilities,
yeah.
that we'd want.
So real quick, I'm gonna hit reset all. And just so if I understood everything correctly, we're gonna go down here. We're gonna take all this neat stuff. And you're gonna end up with something that looks kind of like this for AoE. You're gonna go down the left side. You're gonna take everything going down, or not everything, but you're gonna path down to Bone Dust Brew. You're gonna go over to the right side. You're gonna take Jade Ignition, Strike of the Windlord. If Teachings of the Monastery works with Shadowbox and Treads, you take that, and then you go down into the past the 20-point gate in the legendary section of the tree. I'm gonna take Whirling Dragon Punch because it's just really good in these, right? A lot of the times it's safe to use and it's way less problematic than in raid.
I wouldn't. Depends on what level Mythic Plus you're doing, but yeah.
It also depends
generally speaking.
on whether the dungeon you're in has a lot of frontals or not, and a lot of like ground effects, because some of them have way more than others.
Yeah, just a quick example, like Workshop is like very Whirling Dragon Punch dangerous.
Yeah.
Because of the
all the different things that have like a frontal that
the
targets a
gear boss.
random member of the raid.
Yeah, I mean the last 2 bosses are just reason enough not to take Whirling Dragon Punch in that
Right.
dungeon. So anyway.
Do you take Kiefer's Skyreach in AoE just because you can I guess it's only on the target that you get the critical strike bonus.
Yeah, it's only on the target that you get it.
So you probably skip that in AoE.
Yeah, skip it in AoE. May actually pick up Zwen's Bond instead.
Okay.
Either Zwen's Bond or Fury Zwen.
Okay. Where I threw it is unneeded. Maybe Whirling Dragon Punch is the unneeded bond instead. But yeah, so this looks like you're getting a lot of the things back that you currently have. You're getting Invoker's Delight. You're getting Bone Dust Brew. You're getting Zuen. You're getting Strike of the Windlord, which you have not had since Legion. You're getting Drinking Horn Covered, which you have not had since Legion. Zuen's Battle Gear, again. A couple of Torghast powers to give you some really potent Touch of Deaths. And this is all only from the spec tree. The class tree has, of course, a bunch of other goodies in it. This looks pretty compelling. I actually also like that you're going to be able to realistically opt out of taking Whirling Dragon Punch.
Yeah.
It is one that like I've definitely died, even in keys I've died with this. Like the fervent strikes make it less likely. The frontals in some of these keys. Like some of them it's fine, some of them it's like very dangerous, like you were saying. You know, never ever have I ever been knocked off the platform side because I Whirling Dragon punched at a bad time. Never once happened for. Yeah. So yeah. Okay, and then for AoE or for single target, you actually have a relatively similar build, but instead of going for bonus brew, you go for Phalanx Stomp.
Yeah. So I would. So if you clear out most of this, clear back up to yeah. Basically, yeah.
So we go over here, we take Dance of Chi-Ji. We're taking Strike of the Windlord as well, and Thunder.
Okay. Actually, I would take out what is it? So so I'll take out Feathers of the 100 Flocks. I'll also take out Mark of the Crane.
Okay. Yeah.
No, I just take out. Yeah, there we go. So I'll take. Sorry, I'm trying to follow along with you.
Yeah.
Okay, so I would go Fist of Fury, Ascension, both into Flash of Fist, 2 into Hardened Souls, Flying Serpent Kick, Power Strike, Open Palm Strike, Glory of the Dawn. That would open up the 8. So I'll take
Right.
Inner
So
Peace.
we are actually running over. So
Yeah,
down at the bottom of the tree, we're still taking like Zuan and Power Tiger Lightning. We're taking Phalanx Stomp instead of Bone Dust Brew, pretty much. And we're going into probably Zuan's Battle Gear, Invoker's Delight still, and then maybe picking up one or both of the other Zuan talents.
Correct.
And then maybe we get Last Emperor's Capacitor, depending on the fight.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, depending on tuning, for sure.
So it does kind of break down into a little bit more of like left side versus right side for AoE versus single target, but you do have a little bit of a mix of both. Because like in single target, you're still taking Dance of Chi-Ji, you're still taking going left for Inner Peace and potentially hit combo if that floats your boat, and or if the numbers are big enough on it. But you are still able to like you're able to navigate around the like pure AoE talents for the most part. Jade Ignition, I think, being the one noteworthy exception to.
Exactly.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Well, cool. That is, I guess, last thing, and we'll wrap up the podcast finally because we're 10 minutes over, and I know Anam has kid duty.
Yeah.
So, what are your overall impressions of the tree? Is this good? Is this all of your hopes and dreams?
I still have some concerns with the layout, but otherwise, I really enjoy it actually.
Nice.
Yeah, I would say me as well. Like overall I'm happy with it. There are some weird things, some things that could be swapped around still, some maybe redesign, talent changes
I think
for
you
some
kind of
nodes, but it's overall this is the first time I've felt like going into an expansion looking at like the Windwalker state of Windwalker where I'm not absolutely like just horrified by like some of the decisions they've made.
yeah.
Because yeah, I mean, we could talk about Shadowlands all day about like what
Yeah.
Windwalker was looking like going to Shadowlands. So this is a massive, massive improvement. I'm absolutely astounded how much thought they put into this very low population spec that they normally do. So
Yeah.
I'm
I think a
looking
lot of what
forward
you
to it.
said there kind of carries out in some of our discussion about the tree, where there's a few talents that you're like, yeah, I would like this changed about it, or hey, we don't want to have to path through this in order to get to that. But really, for the most part, it was just a lot of cool toys, either returning or new, or just new combinations of things that are interesting and exciting if they work together.
And the best part
Exactly.
about this is there's something for all levels of players and PvP. It's not
Yeah.
just Raider focused, which everyone, it's a very common complaint. It's like everything's designed for Raiders. It's like, no, it's actually, and Plus has awesome stuff. PvP has awesome stuff. Clearing old content even has awesome stuff.
Right.
It's going to be good, I think, for
Yeah.
anyone who wants to do. Windwalker is going to be a really good spec to play if you want to do all parts of the game.
Yeah.
So
I do think that one of my long-term complaints with like WoW since the kind of top era is that leveling has been really kind of ass. And going just the fact that we're going back to talent trees already does a lot for that. But the way the Windwalker tree looks in particular, actually, I think looks like it's going to be just a kind of fun thing that as you're leveling, you're going to get a lot of new stuff every single time you level up. You're getting something. There's like a few points where like, oh, I leveled up, I got 5% Rising Sun kick damage, right? But they're few and far between.
Yeah.
Agreed.
But I think that is going to bring us to the end of the show for today. Thank you all for watching and or listening. And if you enjoy this podcast, and you want to support it and the other work that we do over on the Peak of Serenity, you can do that over at our Patreon at patreon.com/Peak of Serenity. And of course, come and join the Discord. I have no idea what the Windwalker Lounge is doing right now. Are they also talking about F1? Because I know that's what the Brew Lounge is doing.
And not that I'm aware of.
Okay, so the F1 has not yet infested Brew Lounge or
Nope.
Wind Lounge. Good to know. Good
No.
to know. But if you want to find these wonderful people below me on screen, you can do that in the Discord. And that with or without.
Yes.
True.
But that is it for the show today. Thank you all for listening, and we will see you next week.
Bye.
Yep.